Hi, and welcome to my Unreal Engine 5.5 tutorial on the Multiplayer Template plugin. Throughout this tutorial and afterwards, if you have any trouble, feel free to reach out to me on my Discord, link is at the top of the documentation. And for the purposes of time, I'll be covering steps 3 to 7 on the Getting Set Up chapter, and then talking about the implementation at the end. If you have any trouble with the steps 1 and 2, installing the plugin and creating the project, feel free to reach out to me on my Discord, like I said, links at the top of the documentation. Getting right into it though, let's head up to Edit and then Plugins. And then we should be able to search for Multiplayer plugin. Alright, it tells you you must restart Unreal Editor, but for us we're actually just going to close the Unreal Editor because we have some config changes we need to implement. So, head into step 4. Let's open the config folder and then default engine.ini. And then if you open the default engine changes file that I included in the download, you should just be able to copy all of this to the end of your default engine file and then save and close both of those. Now let's open default game and we will do the same with default game changes file. So let's copy all of those over to our default game config file and then close both of those. Now with that done, you should be able to open up your project again. Alright, now that we're back in the project, let's head to the content browser. On the left, you'll now see a plugins folder with the multiplayer template content and C++ classes. If you can't see these folders, head over to the right, click Settings, and then click Show Plugin Content. I've also enabled the Show C++ classes, and also make sure that under Path View filters, content-only plugins are disabled, because enabling this will actually get rid of the content for some reason. Alright, now that step 5 is done, let's head down to step 6, Project Settings. So, let's head up to Edit again, Project Settings. And then in here, we want to head to the left where it says Project, down to Maps and Modes, and then down to Game Default Map. We want to make that into the map underscore main menu, and I like to make the editor map underscore main menu as well. Let's also head down to Game Instance class and make that into BP underscore multiplayer game instance. This next step for packaging is only required if you're building the game into a distributable. If you're not planning on doing that, then you don't need to worry about this step. But we'll head down to packaging, and then the packaging section, scroll down to advanced, and then scroll down to where it says list of maps to include in a packaged build. We're just going to copy the two parts that I included in the documentation, making sure we leave out the quotations. Alright, and with that done, we can now head on down to the left where it says engine, and then scroll down to where it says general settings. Then from the top of general settings, we head down to game viewport client class, and we just want to make this common game viewport client. Alright, with all these changes made, we can now restart the editor. While this is starting, I'll just talk about some of the Steam limitations. So now the project should be able to run where it tests step 7, test the setup. Steam doesn't work in the PIE mode. Let's just close project settings. Steam won't work in the selective viewport mode or the PIE mode. So you will have to play it in standalone game. And Steam also doesn't really like it when you're running multiple instances of the game on the same Steam account. Sometimes it does work, sometimes it doesn't. Uh, mileage may vary. So if we just attempt a standalone game, we should be able to now launch the game and see that we have Steam overlay and that we can load into the test level. There we are, we see the Steam pop up, so I should be able to Shift Tab and I can see my Steam overlay. From the Steam overlay, you can open your friends list. I won't do that to save the identity of some of my friends. And then from your friends list, you should be able to join each other using the Steam's test developer app ID. There we go. Now that I've hosted a game, we're inside the test level. That notification in the top left is just because the maze over there has a little bit too many lights, but it's not a problem or part of the plugin that you should be concerned about. All right, let's talk about implementation. As I've said in a few places, this plugin isn't really intended to be implemented into an existing project. It is intended to be a template that is built upon on a fresh project. But that being said, it's not impossible to implement it into your existing project. I have to warn you though that attempting to do so may break a few things, so you should always back up your project before attempting to implement a new plugin. We are not responsible for any issues this may cause with your project, so I can't stress enough to back up your project before attempting to implement it. All right. With that being said, I'm not going to actually cover the steps to do an implementation. I have talked about it in the documentation, but each case will probably change slightly. So it really depends on each person and their project. So if you have any problems, feel free to reach out to me on my Discord. And like I've said, the link is in the top of the documentation. So on there, you'll be able to set up Q&A and just have any questions you may have. I'll be able to answer it as best as possible and help you guide through that setup. Anyway, thank you for watching my tutorial, and I hope you have a good day.